Susan, Michelle, Myrna, Skoller. This mic is all yours.
Hey, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. It's a cold day here in Massachusetts. It was about 32 when I woke up, so the temperature is definitely getting closer to winter weather. I am the author of Surrender to Joy From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And my great friend and soul sister, Myrna Skoller, is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, which is just such a great complement to Course in Miracles workbook for students. I love her book. I love her. How are you doing today, Myrna?
Just like you, I'm cold. It's cold in Florida, except it's not in the 30s, it's in the 50s, and that's cold for us. You can see. But
That is
everything,
cold for Florida.
yeah, yeah. But everything's wonderful, really, just the same as always, just wonderful. Yeah,
Good, good,
especially now,
good.
especially in the here and now, right?
Yes, in the here and now. That's absolutely correct. So, and I see a few other faces in the room. If anyone has any thoughts on any topic that we are speaking about, I'd love to hear your shares. Zulma, I see her beautiful, beautiful picture. If you're here, Zulma, and you want to share, just let us know. Oh,
So,
there she
haven't
is.
seen you in a while.
So great to see your smiling, beautiful face. Yeah, just let us know, Zoma. So, and then there's someone else, Sharon is here, and then DEB, Deb maybe. So if you have any thoughts, just let us know. I will start out with the introduction of my book, as I like to do. What I write in Surrender to Joy is my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. I love that word surrender too, because when we can surrender our will with a small w to God's will with a capital W, there is nothing that we cannot do. But it's about, releasing the control of the ego and giving the reins to the Holy Spirit and allowing Him to guide our life. Because God, the only way I can experience joy is by allowing God to work through me. Not doing God's will is a denial of self. So doing God's will, surrendering to God's will, it's aligning myself with the truth of who I am. So that's the only thing that can make me happy. We've spoken about the word surrender. The word surrender is not in A Course in Miracles, not even once, because I guess Helen Schuckman did not like the word surrender, which is really interesting. But I think A Course in Miracles talks about surrendering to God's will in different ways without actually using that word. I mean, the ego likes to control, the ego likes to plan. The ego likes to worry, the ego likes to suffer, the ego likes to sacrifice, and all this is a denial of our truth. Because I said in my little introduction, when I am connected to peace, love, joy, and happiness, I am connected to the truth of who I am. God vibrates at a very, very high energetic frequency. You know, that's the way I see it. Love is a high energetic frequency. Fear is a dense energy. Fear is a low energetic vibration. So in what we can't, talk negatively to us, we can't give control to the ego and hear what God is saying. Because when we are fearful, when we have allowed fearful thoughts to enter our mind, we are blocking God's voice. So what we need to do is we need to release the fear. We need to allow ourselves to connect to that higher energetic vibration. We need to trust, we need to love, we need to let go, we need to surrender. And when we can connect to those emotions of peace, love, joy, and happiness, then God can get through. Then we can hear God's voice. I have been actually pretty good about my morning meditations lately. And I think that's a very powerful way too to hear God's voice, because what I do is I still my mind, and I focus on the truth of who I am first thing in the morning. I think two of the most powerful affirmations that I say is, first of all, it's accepting everything in my life exactly as it is. Because I think acceptance is based on love. Resistance is based on fear. So resistance is keeping ourselves in ego terrain. Acceptance is based on love. So when we can accept everything in our life exactly as it is, it's a very powerful affirmation, and it allows us to elevate our consciousness. And also, I embody the essence of innocence. That all ties into forgiveness. A Course in Miracles clearly states that those who want total peace can only find it through complete forgiveness. And when we can completely forgive our brother and ourselves, what we do is we embody our own innocence. We connect to our own innocence. And it's just such an empowering, beautiful, joy-filled state to reside in. Any thoughts on that, Myrna?
Yeah, you said a lot of good things relating to surrender. One of the central themes is the concept of surrender in A Course in Miracles, though the term surrender may not always be used explicitly within the text, but instead, A Course in Miracles speaks about letting go, yielding, and releasing control to a higher guidance. What it refers and it refers to the Holy Spirit in that way. We're releasing to ourselves, yielding to the Holy Spirit, surrendering to the Holy Spirit. And surrender is the process of letting go of the ego's judgment, control, attachment, outcomes, and so forth, which the ego has complete jurisdiction over if we allow it. So it's a willingness to trust, like you said, trust in a higher wisdom rather than relying completely on our own limited perspectives. Surrender involves acknowledging that our personal understanding is often clouded by fear, guilt, our past conditioning. Choosing instead to be guided by love and inner peace is what the Course in Miracles aims to teach us. And I adhere to that very well. I like that. It is so concentrated in that respect. Letting go of control is another way of surrendering. The Course in Miracles teaches that trying to control life according to the ego's desires leads to suffering. And surrender means allowing the Holy Spirit to guide our thoughts and actions. And this really leads to true happiness and peace. That's the only way we can find it. And forgiveness, you mentioned that too. You know, it's a major aspect of A Course in Miracles. A major aspect of surrender also is forgiveness, forgiving others and oneself, our own self, by letting go of grievances, judgments. Then we surrender the ego's need to be right and opens up our heart to healing. So it really says a lot. That one word really says a lot. Acceptance. Acceptance is another one. Accepting the present moment without resistance is a form of surrender. And, ACIM invites us to accept what is, recognizing that peace is found in the present, not in the past, not in wishing things were different. We sometimes do. Practicing surrender in A Course in Miracles involves willingness, daily willingness. You said I envy that you meditate daily. It's such a good habit to get involved in meditating, because I think it's a way of turning our thoughts and decisions and challenges over to the Holy Spirit in meditation. This can be done, or simply, if we're not meditating, by at least pausing to ask for inner guidance before reacting to life situations, which we often do. It is about being open, receptive, non-defensive, allowing the mind to be healed of fear-based illusions. The mind creates, the ego is all about just illusions, not reality. So I like that, Susan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Myrna. Thank you. I know surrender, you said a lot of really wise, you define surrender in a very, very wise way.
Hi, Sarah.
Here it says that the Course describes surrender in different ways. Letting go of control, as you said, Myrna. ACIM says that peace comes when we resign as our own teacher. This means surrendering the belief that we know what's best and allowing divine wisdom to guide us instead. Resign now as your own teacher, for you were badly taught. I mean, it takes courage to surrender, because the ego likes to control, the ego likes to plan, the ego likes to worry. But to surrender and to trust in a power that is greater than ourselves, there's so much positive energy in that mindset. Oh, and yeah, I see Sora just came in too a few minutes ago. Welcome, Sora. Any thoughts? Feel free to share. I love your wisdom. So I was listening to what you were saying too, Myrna, and I think, there is this egoic safety in holding on to grievances. And I'm not sure why that is, but somehow when we are connected to our ego, we just hold. I think the ego likes to reside in a state of victimization. Like it's just, again, it's just safe. And there's a certain safety in holding on to grievances, because when we can hold on to our grievances, it's kind of like this I'm a victim, you owe me mentality. And I'm very familiar with that mindset. I have this one friend of mine who is not a Course in Miracles student, and she consistently points out different people in her life who have wronged her, and then she's always looking to me to validate her, and sometimes when I don't validate her side, she gets upset because she really wants my validation in terms of the other person is wrong. But I think, of course we've all done that. We've all hung on to certain grievances at different times in our life. But I think that it just disempowers us, because when we can take responsibility for our circumstances, that's how we can use the circumstances to change and to grow. Because again, when we hold on to grievances, when we hold on to resentments, when we point our finger outside of ourselves, we're giving our power away. But when we can take responsibility for what's happening in our life, as you so often wisely say, Myrna, everything is a lesson or a blessing, and we can use these circumstances where we might feel victimized, but we can use them to learn. When we can use them to grow, we can use them, as opportunities to see what is inside of our unconscious mind that has not yet been healed, because nobody can trigger us on the outside unless there's something on our inside that needs healing. As I love to quote from A Course in Miracles, our external world is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. So resentments, grievances, they're just showing us what has not yet been healed in our unconscious mind. And instead of remaining the victim, instead of pointing our finger at our brother and saying, it's your fault that I feel like this, to take responsibility, to own the pain, that's how healing can occur. It's a much more empowering mindset to work with, to embody. This is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. A Course in Miracles is mind training. I was listening to this podcast earlier this morning by Judy Scutch Whitson, I believe her name is. I haven't really listened to her much in the past. I've heard about her. I guess she's part of the Foundation for Inner Peace, or she started the Foundation for Inner Peace, and she's huge into Course in Miracles. I thought that very wise. She has a lot of wisdom. One thing she says that I thought was really, really, really interesting, because I know there's a lot of truth in the Bible. I know there is. I think in many ways that the Bible has been misinterpreted. But I know there's a lot of truth, and I know many Course in Miracles students study the Bible, especially the New Testament, and they see it in a more metaphysical way. But what she said is the Bible teaches you what to do. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. A Course in Miracles teaches you how to do that. So the Bible can tell us what to do, but A Course in Miracles is teaching us how to do it. I mean, forgiveness, the Bible talks about forgiveness also. But when I was a traditional Christian, when I grew up in the Lutheran Church, I didn't understand really what forgiveness meant. I thought forgiveness kind of was letting the other guy off the hook. I mean, if I forgave him, well, I was still the better person. I was still the superior one. He was still the bad one, but I was getting brownie points. I was getting an easy pass into heaven by forgiving my brother, by letting him off the hook. And A Course in Miracles is explaining forgiveness in such a deeper way. It describes forgiveness as really not letting your brother off the hook, but seeing you and your brother as both as equal parts of the sonship. So when I forgive my brother, I'm not holding him accountable for any wrongdoing. I'm actually changing my perception of the situation completely. I'm seeing through his heirs to the truth of who he is. And by seeing the truth of who my brother is, which is Christ, which is completely innocent, that's how I can feel my own innocence. So I'm changing my perception completely. So I'm not overlooking something that he did wrong. I'm just erasing the mistake and seeing the beauty, seeing the beauty in him. So it's again, A Course in Miracles is it's just it's difficult. I think it's difficult because the world is run on the egoic thought system. Um, but it's simple in so many ways too, because the only thing that's real is the love. And the only way we can experience peace, love, joy, and happiness is by aligning ourselves with that love, right, Myrna?
Yes, but I believe Sora has her hand up. You want to
Sora?
share? Mhm.
Oh, Sora, please unmute yourself.
My audio on. You mentioned Judy Scotch. So Judy Scotch was the person responsible for getting A Course in Miracles, disseminating A Course in Miracles, like 50 years ago. They just had her daughter took over the Foundation for Inner Peace. So she was the founder of the Foundation of Inner Peace, along with Ken Wapnick, her husband Bob Scotch, Helen, the scribe. And tune into Judy's energy. I heard her speak once in New York City about 45 years ago. And she was brilliant. And we all have stories about how we come to the Course. So she had her own story about looking, feeling desperate, feeling, alone, isolated, abandoned, and praying to the heavens, won't someone please help me? And then one of these, the next day, she had lunch with Helen and Bill, and and that started what became, in printed form, Helen had just finished channeling the manuscript. And so Judy was so instrumental in just getting it out. She was a little fire plug, and she just passed about 3 years ago. And there's a beautiful description on the Course website about her passing and how peaceful it was. So so I just tune into her energy. She's was a firebrand. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Myrna?
I hope I didn't interfere. It's like, oh my God, Judy Scotch, like she's the woman. Because Helen, once the manuscript was finished, Helen really didn't want anything to do with it. And she and Bill, kept praying, what do we do? What do we do? And they would get messages like, she's not ready yet. And then she came into their lives, and 50 years later, well, actually it was earlier than that, because the 50th anniversary of when it was first published, but they met before that. Anyway, that was Judy Scott. A beautiful soul. As she got older, you could see pictures of her on the website. I mean, she just radiated. That's it.
Thanks.
You're
Myrna?
welcome. I will lower my
Yeah.
hand, and I will shut up. I will not. I'm enjoying listening. You have a great deal of wisdom, Susan, and the Course teaching so well. So it's a pleasure listening.
Yes,
Thanks.
that's true. Yeah, Judy Scotch, certainly that name comes up as well. Yeah, she was instrumental in she started the Foundation for Inner Peace. She worked with Bill Thetford in putting it all together. I think it was also said that Jesus told Helen that someone by the name of Judy was going to come along and publish the Course in Miracles. I think there was some assertion about that. Anyway, but that name certainly popped up as well, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you mentioned oneness, Susan, oneness with our brothers. And it's, yeah, it's based on forgiveness. Forgiveness is a central theme of A Course in Miracles. And when you forgive your brother, you're essentially releasing yourself from the illusion, from the separation. So through forgiveness, grievances, and letting go, and just seeing our brother as sinless and whole. And this recognition is not just a mental exercise, but a profound experience of shared innocence and unity. ACIM encourages us to see the Christ or the divine in the self, which is our brother as well, the self in every brother with the capital S, self. The Course puts it that way. So this means looking beyond the body and personality, past actions, and recognizing the light of God within. And by doing this, we kind of affirm our own divinity as well, because in truth, as we see our brother, we see ourselves. And when we meet anyone, remember everything is a holy encounter. So when you see him, you also see yourself. You see yourself in your brother. And as you treat him, the way you treat him is the way you treat yourself. So the Son of God is you, the Son of God, as the Course in Miracles puts it. And you and your brother are one. And forgive your brother. That's essential. Forgive your brother's appearances, but also teach yourself. It teaches you, when you see the sinless in your brother, it teaches you the sinlessness in yourself. So it's pretty profound. I think, I think oneness with our brothers, is the recognition that we're all united in spirit, that the separation is an illusion. It's not real. The separation, seeing our brothers separate from ourselves, is not real. It's an illusion. That's something we really have to wrap our heads around and to become acquainted with in order to become familiar with what we're supposed to be doing, what we're supposed to be learning. And this understanding leads to peace, healing, and the experience of true love. And that is really what it's all about, the forgiveness. I had an experience all related as well. As a young girl, I was about 12 years old. I won't go into it, but had a very difficult experience with a family member, an abusive one, an uncle, actually. And I always had a grievance against him for that, but I thought it was forgiven. And I went on to speak to him, and I was, still, I retained, even though I inwardly was resentful, terribly so, I still was able to, have a relationship with him and the family throughout his life until he died. Anyway, last night I woke up in the middle, and I thought I forgave it. I absolutely thought I let go of the grievance. And last night, in the middle of the night, must have been about 3 o'clock in the morning, somehow, for some reason, I woke up with him on my mind, literally feeling so upset, thinking about that, thinking that how somehow this came back into my mind, even though I was only 12 years old when it happened. So I turned to Jesus with this, and Jesus said, well, the answer that I got was, think about that. You forgave him. You had the forgiveness in your heart at 12 years old because you retained that relationship with the family. You didn't let that go. So remember, you were very forgiving, and that's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be forgiving, and it reminded me that I did forgive him. I didn't have to chastise myself, thinking that I was that I was still responsible for lack of forgiveness. And I felt so guilty and so bad. And I remember thinking, gee, I thought I had let go of that. And that bothered me. The memory of it bothered me. And you know what? After that conversation, after that letting go again, I fell back to sleep. And I woke up this morning feeling completely healed. So I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's interesting what we're talking about. I mean, A Course in Miracles teaches that we need our brothers to get into heaven. It teaches us how to heal through relationships. And really, how A Course in Miracles terms it is it's all about transforming a special relationship into a holy relationship. What is a special relationship? A special relationship is between two egos. We feel like we can get from our brother what is lacking in ourself. That's a special relationship. So a special relationship is about getting. And I know many, if not all of my relationships years ago were special relationships because I felt incomplete and I felt like that perfect person was going to save me from my loneliness. And especially now with my husband, who is also a Course in Miracles student, I am in the process of transforming my special relationship with my husband into a holy relationship. And special relationships, it doesn't even only talk about romantic relationships. Any relationship, I believe, with a friend can be transformed from a special relationship to a holy relationship. Because romantic relationship, I guess what that implies is that sexual relations, is part of your relationship. But A Course in Miracles is very clear that you can't really connect with another person through his or her body. That is impossible. The only way to really connect with our brother is through our minds, So a special relationship, I think, can be a romantic relationship or a platonic relationship, and either one you can transform into a holy relationship. Again, a holy relationship is about what can I give to my brother. A special relationship is about what can I get from my brother. So a special relationship is based on lack, and that can never ever make us happy. A holy relationship is based on extension. So a special relationship is based on projection. A holy relationship is based on extension. And through transforming a special into a holy relationship, that's how we can really connect with God and feel the truth about of who we are. And you can't find that connection through bodies. I mean, have you ever been in the same room as someone and felt no connection to them at all? Like we all have. Or on the other hand, have you ever been in a room full of many people and felt completely lonely? We all have, because we can't connect to another person through their body. The only way we can really connect is through their mind when we are extending love to them, right, Soma?
I love this. And we were talking about special relationships just, before you two came on earlier. And what came out of that, and which stuck and grabbed me, is that special relationships are all based on the past. They're Every single, it's all based on the past. And even what these relationships that we have now, regardless of what kind of, it could be the grocer in the supermarket. It could be anyone, and if that grocer has always been so sweet and kind, and hey, how are you? And how you doing? And and you have that relation, you say, "Good, how are you?" And then one day you walk in, and they basically just kind of walk right past you like they never even saw you. All of a sudden, you don't feel so good about that person anymore. What the heck is wrong with them? I did not, it's because we think that they're supposed to be the way they were the last time we saw them. And that would apply also to their clothing. I mean, think about it. If, today I'm wearing a turtleneck, and tomorrow I might not. If you see me tomorrow here, you don't think, oh, that's not Zulma. She's not being who she was. She's supposed to have on a turtleneck. See, we to do the shoulding thing, we're always shoulding on people. It should be this way, it should be that way.
Mhm.
Our special relationships are always based on the past, and we go right into anger and fury and upset and worry, and because we think, well, that's the sentence could end there. We go into these feelings because we think, but we think that they should act the way they did, the way we think they should. That's what makes it special. Us shooting on it, thinking it should be the way it was in the past. But this moment is not bound by the past. And that's what the course continually reminds us, that it's not about the past, that the ego thought system has no concern for the past. It now means nothing to it. It's based on the past, the shadow figures and all that sort of thing. It's all what makes it holy. What makes it holy is recognizing that it's whole in this moment, in this instant. It's now. It's always now. Once we go past the now, then we're jumping into specialness. And I am complete.
Beautiful. Yes. I like that. The special relationship, the course teaches that, special relationships are formed on the basis of lack, involving attachment, attachment to somebody, dependency, or the search for personal fulfillment through another person. So that is what the special relationship really shows us. Special relationships is one in which a person seeks to find completion or happiness by making another person or that thing special, setting them apart from everything else, setting them apart from others. And this can be in, romantic relationships, friendships, and the course tells us that special relationships are based on ego motivations. The desire for approval, security, control. The ego likes to control, and just the opposite is the holy relationship.
Mm.
Rather than condemning relationships, the holy relationships is described where both parties join together with a shared purpose of forgiveness. A shared purpose is forgiveness, spiritual growth. And in such relationships, love is not based on conditions or expectations, but on the recognition of the shared divine nature in all of us. And once we see that divine nature in all of us, then we've shifted from the specialness to the holiness. And that's what the Course aims to teach us to do. And it teaches us different ways of doing that through forgiveness, especially. Again, the special relationship is formed out of a sense of lack or need, and are maintained by ego desires. So sometimes they even result in pain, because it's based on, conditional, on being, on loving somebody conditionally, not unconditionally. So, and then it teaches us that we need to forgive, that we need to let that go. And once we can experience true forgiveness, it opens the pathway to the experiencing only the holy relationship, letting go of specialness, and it's also opportunities for growth and healing. And by becoming aware of the ego's role in these relationships and, choosing to transform through forgiveness and unconditional love, we can then experience a deeper peace and connection with everyone, with others. So that's how I view that. It's a very good topic, right, Susan?
Oh
Everybody
yeah,
said
yeah,
such
I know
good
we have
things.
a lot of thoughts on this topic. I mean, the special relationship sees the other person as special, so we kind of put them on a pedestal. And then what's interesting is when we put people on a pedestal, it's real easy to throw them under the bus, because I notice whenever I see someone as superior to me, well, then they literally, because I'm not looking at them through the eyes of the Holy Spirit, as time goes on, I see them as inferior. The superiority goes to inferiority because I see them as special. So it's not inclusive. It's not including all of my brothers. It's just I'm focusing on this one special person to satisfy my unmet needs. So they go from superior to inferior, and it just never works. That's why seeing someone as your equal is so important. Sora?
Oh, yeah. To follow up on what Zulma was saying and what you're saying now, um, when my husband was alive, we used to do this process whenever we felt specialness coming up, and the process is, I forgive you for not being who I wanted you to be. And that's the essence of forgiveness. It's because we people our world. There's a review lesson. To me, the purpose of everything is to prove that my illusions about myself are real. That's review lesson 25. And so we create our worlds, or we make our worlds, and we people them with people who are going to fill certain roles. You said something similar to that, Susan, about filling us up. It wasn't quite that, but it was that idea. That as so we people, it's like we're the director or the producer, and we people our lives with that which is going to disappoint us, because then we get to play a victim, and we blame God for what God did to us. So recognizing that I assign people various roles that they couldn't fulfill because that's not who they really were. That's the essence of forgiveness. I have to, let go of who I thought they were. And then in a way, it's rediscovering who they really are. And what happens after that, who knows? That's everything. It's like it's a surprise. It's creative. But with my husband, who was also a Course in Miracles student, and he had been my teacher at one point, these kinds of processes work. We're both, willing to take responsibility for our own, maybe neediness, our own manifestation of what we thought they were, making them special.
Zuma.
I'll
I
take my
love
hand down.
I love this, Sora, and it's funny because Sora, what you said is we're saying the same thing, only differently, because what you said is that you and your husband, you would say, I forgive you for not being who I thought who I thought you were supposed to be. And my thought is, I forgive myself for thinking that you were supposed to be blah, blah, blah. And it was
Okay,
because
right.
really that's what it comes down to, because it's never, the workbook lesson tells us that we're never upset for the reason we think. We're
Yeah.
upset because we're thinking in the first place. Thinking is our problem. Thinking is our problem. And in terms of a holy relationship, it doesn't have anything to do with the other person either, because we think that you know, at least
Yeah.
you know, that you and I, you know, joined. No, it's me realizing that we're already joined. It has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
You may still, you may continue to be whoever you were, screaming, yelling, whatever I thought that, you know, was different than what I thought you should have been. I keep shoulding. That's my word. We should on it. We should it all the time. You know, me thinking, you know, you might continue to be that way, but it's not about that. It's me recognizing that you're expressing your God self the way you are, and I'm expressing myself the way I am, and that my way is not right. And your way is not wrong. It's just the way it is, based on whatever our, you know, however we choose to express and manifest. But so the relationship becomes holy when I accept you as you are. That's really what it comes down to. And the workbook lesson says that. Let all things be exactly as they are. Let me not be a critic to that. That there's no point in trying to change the world. It's incapable of change. All I can do is change the way I see it. And once I see it differently, once I see the beauty in it, it doesn't matter what or who. And had an example come up. I'm not going to go into the story, but someone who I had, a family member who I had said, all right, I accept that that's just how she is, and I just accept it, and detach from it, detach my anger, my upset, my thought that she shouldn't be this way, that she should know better, and all that sort of thing. And then, you know, I guess I kind of talked her up is what I did, because I was using her as an example, and got a phone call, and nothing was different. Nothing was different. I'll look, wait for your phone call at 4. And then, you know, I got a response 2.5 hours later. It was not at 4. You know, that kind of thing. And I had to, again, I just smiled. Lesson, Zulma, are you really there? And I found out that I was. I did not get angry. I did not get upset. I did not go into shooting on, you know, what she should have done. And she said she was gonna, and there she is being herself again. None of that. None of that. That's how I know. That's how I know where I am, my growth. I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you both. Sora and Zulma and Myrna, of course. Yeah, we're learning a lot. It's a great discussion, you know, and I love what you said, Sora, about your husband. I can remember times in my own marriage, especially in the beginning of our marriage, before he became a Course in Miracles student. And I remember sometimes we would get in the worst fights, the most dramatic arguments, you know, like incredible conflict. And I remember just being like so angry that I could barely control it. And then I remember just kind of pausing, you know, Myrna, you mentioned pause. And what would always come to me is to pray, because A Course in Miracles asks us, would you rather be right or happy? You know, the ego wants to be right. The Holy Spirit wants to be happy. So it's not about being right. It's not about winning the argument. It's not about that at all. It's about just loving our brother. You know, that's what makes us happy. So I can remember in the middle of these arguments, I can remember it well. I remember like once I just went into the bathroom and I started pacing back and forth, and I just wanted to explode, you know? And then I paused, and then I prayed. And then I went to my husband, you know, when he was calming down as well. And I asked him if he wanted to pray with me. And he said yes. So I remember that's what we did. We prayed, and we didn't even focus on what we fought about. We just realized that it didn't matter, that what we both really craved was love. And I remember the praying just got us to the other side of the conflict, to the commonality between us and to the love between us. And that's where the healing lay. Gosh, you think about all this political divisiveness that's happening now. I think maybe what they should have in the White House is just prayer sessions, just pray and focus on the love. Wouldn't the world be a beautiful place if we could all do that? I mean, I can remember different circumstances, events in my life that have to do with forgiveness, and how forgiveness just made everything right again. I remember as my father got older, he started experiencing dementia in different ways. His thought process just wasn't as clear anymore, as he got into his 80s. And I remember once we had a Thanksgiving family get together, and I had been speaking to my sister for a while about how important forgiveness was. She's not a Course in Miracles student, which is fine, but I think a lot of people would agree, whether they study Course in Miracles or not, that forgiveness is a healthy practice to get into. So my sister agreed with me on that. And I remember, so one time at this Thanksgiving get together, she went up to my father, she looked him in the eyes, and she said, "Dad, I just want you to know that I forgive you." Because, there was a lot of conflict in our life as children. We both developed a lot of dysfunctional habits based on what we learned through my parents. So my sister went up to my dad, "Dad, I forgive you." And my father just looked at her and he said, "For what?" Like he's like, "Well, thank you, but for what?" Like he literally wasn't saying that to be difficult. He just couldn't remember, he didn't remember anything that he had done wrong, which is kind of funny in a way. I mean, that's very Course in Miracles, isn't it? To just forget about the errors, to forget about the mistakes. I remember another episode happened with my father, how my father and my husband, they both are type A, aggressive, strong, dominating. My husband is getting, more loving now, but him and my husband and my father, they both have these type A strong personalities, dominating personalities. So they got into a big argument. And then for years, I would say for 3 years after this argument, my father refused to talk to my husband. Like anytime I'd mention his name, he wouldn't want to hear the name. He didn't want to see him. He didn't want to have anything to do with him. I would say for a good 3 years, because my husband was not, I mean, my father was not a big believer in forgiveness. So then after about 3 years, I went to see my father at the independent living facility that he was living at, and my husband was with me. And my dad opened the door to his apartment. He looked at me with this man next to me, my husband. He said, "Is this gentleman with you?" And then he said, "It's very nice to meet you." And he held out his hand. And because of the dementia, what happened with my father is he completely forgot about the argument. And to his dying day, he never again remembered the argument. And I think that's very Course in Miracles. I'm not saying that we have to come down with dementia to forget about the negative occurrences in our life. But in a way, that's what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. It's teaching us to erase the negativity. At the end of my father's life, he was very childlike in so many ways. and he had forgotten about the negative things that have happened in his life. He forgot some of the positive too, but and he was also very childlike. But I think because of that childlike quality, he became very innocent, and that was a very like beautiful way to see him at the end of his life. Thoughts on that, Myrna?
Yeah. Yes, you know, it seems to me that your father, you know, the word that comes to mind is true acceptance. You know, he chose love over fear, just as the Course in Miracles teaches. That's what it seems like. You know, it talks about acceptance. What is true acceptance? It's not a passive resignation, you know, but an active willingness to see things differently and you're guided by love rather than fear. We can only be in two places, love or fear. Excuse me. And this, you know, this I think allows us to move past the ego's interpretations and opens up the doors to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And it seems that that's what was happening, you know. It's and again, you know, it's about forgiveness too. You have to be willing to accept, to forgive. You're not going to accept unless you're willing. You're not going to forgive unless you're willing to forgive. It's all about accepting it, accepting the forgiveness, wanting to forgive. And the Course, you know, encourages us to accept ourselves and others as innocent, as you just said, recognizing that errors and mistakes to be corrected, not sins to be punished. Acceptance in this sense means letting go of grievances, judgments, and the desire to change the past, which we can't do. So by fully accepting what is, we can release the emotional burdens that block our awareness to love's presence. That's all about the Course in Miracles. You know, inner peace is attained when we can accept the present moment and trust in the process of spiritual healing, spiritual unfolding. Acceptance helps us release control and acknowledge that our perceptions are often clouded by fear or misconceptions. Really, that's what it is, or misinterpretation. So by being willing to accept others and the circumstances of our lives, we allow the Course's central teaching that love holds no grievances. So your father was feeling love and he was not holding a grievance at all. So whatever state he was in, that's what he was experiencing. So I think that's beautiful. And, you know, you said other things too about your dad. You know, he liked to sing with you. He liked to sing the old songs of the old days. You know, did you say, row, row, row your boat? Isn't that another song that he liked to sing? Isn't that what you said? You know, am I mistaken? Did I remember that correctly, Susan?
Well, that song, the videos that he saw were the big one he liked on the Good Ship Lollipop
Oh, that was the one.
with
That was
Shirley Temple. That was the one he loved, loved, loved. He would just watch it over and over and over. And because his dementia had progressed pretty far at the time, you know, that I was showing him on the Good Ship Lollipop video, he would watch it, and then a few minutes would pass, he'd watch it again, not remembering that he had just seen it. So every time he saw it, it was a new experience, you know. And then that row, row, row your boat, I think that I think we've brought up frequently because it's a very spiritual song. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream, merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream, you know. And that's
right.
really what A Course in Miracles is teaching, is this life is a dream that we are having, you know. The truth is we are safe at home with God in heaven right here, right now.
Does Sharon
So
have her hand up? If I'm not mistaken, I think I see Sharon's hand up. Or is that just an icon? Okay.
okay, I don't see it up on my
I don't see it.
computer.
I don't see it.
No, I don't have my hand up, but I love this session. I just want to
Oh.
thank you. My phone's ringing. Okay, I guess it's over, but thank you girls so much.
Thank you, Sharon. So it's now
Thank you.
2:31. Thank you. Yes, Sharon and Sora and Zulma, and of course, Myrna. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. As A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. And I love you all. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you so much, Susan, Myrna,
Thank you.
Zolma, everybody who shared, Sora, who's coming up next.